Welcome again to another Curator's Chat. I'm Jason French, Curator of Collections at the Behringer-Crawford Museum. Today, as we are practicing good social distancing, we are actually outside of the museum in the woods around the museum in Devou Park. We're actually on the historic Spring House Trail, and there's the remains of the Spring House right behind me, I believe. But what we're here to talk about is not spring houses or even much of the woods. There's a little bit of that. We wanted to talk about, being good stewards of our environment, and Earth Day and Arbor Day, which are coming up. And this year, Earth Day is 50 years old. So it was founded in 1970. And when I think about days like Earth Day and Arbor Day, I think about days that are dedicated to us remembering that we're part of our environment and that we should be, as best as we can, good stewards of the land that we live on and the land that we live in. And it's nice sometimes to kind of get out, even if you're not really deep into the wilderness. Where we're at now is certainly not a 5-mile hike into nowhere, but it gives us this beautiful view, and it reminds us that we're part of this. And that's just important for us to think about, and there were those in Kentucky even 200 years ago that loved the environment, that were studying the trees and the plants, and really getting some understanding of what was around them. Men like Constantine Rafinesque, who was this amazing botanist and naturalist that ended up being a professor at Transylvania University. And when he was going around in the woods, he may have actually had something like this here. I'm sure you may have been curious about this little tin box I've got on me. This is a botanist tin, or it's called a vesculum, which is actually Latin for pod. So in this, if I were collecting specimens, which, we're not supposed to gather wildflowers and things these days, because we want to preserve our environment. But if I were a naturalist and I was collecting specimens, I was picking up sticks or seeing things that I wanted to study or sketch, I could put it in this tin box, and it would actually keep it from breaking down. It wouldn't flatten it. It wouldn't crush it. And that's what these vesculums, these botanist tins, were used for. And it's a fun thing to have. It's kind of a neat thing to think about. I collect all kinds of interesting things just personally, and this is one of them. And I love the history of really the men and women that studied our environments. There was Constantine Rafinesque maybe close to 200 years ago, but there were just from Cincinnati, there were the Brown sisters. The Brown sisters that were studying the trees and the insects through Kentucky and the Appalachian Ridge, and they were amazing women and really noted scientists. And Emma Lucille Braun wrote this book called The Eastern Deciduous Forest, and it is really it tells us everything we need to know from the time. And she was an amazing author. And that was people that even before, 50 years ago when we had Earth Day started, these are people that were concerned about the environment, people that were concerned about maintaining our status quo and understanding that we came from nature and that we are to take care of nature. So just a little something to think about. Enjoy. Feel free to like and subscribe. We're always doing new videos. It's nice seeing you. We'll see you again for another video.